Without any further ado, let's get into Fancy Ramen, episode 71. This is June 17th, 2018.
Happy
I'm Scott.
Father's Day. Happy
Thanks, son.
Father's Day. Happy Father's Day.
And happy Father's Day
What?
to all those dads out there. Happy Father's Day to all those dads out there.
I'm Cookie.
I'm Neil.
And today I bet we've got quite a bit on the docket because E3 has concluded this week. And so there should be plenty of things to talk about down the line. But what have you two been up to?
I have gotten back into woodworking, and I'm currently building a kotatsu.
I am
What is that?
regretting not having Cookie's password and forgetting that you either updated it or changed your router settings.
Changed router settings.
Yes. So I'm going to fly off the seat of my pants. That's okay. I think I remember most of it.
I can throw you in.
No, that's fine.
You sure? It's just Ollie's cute to you.
But I don't want to admit that.
Okay.
Let's get back to whatever you were making with woodworking, Cookie. It was a what exactly? I thought I heard tonkatsu, but I don't think it's some sort of pork cutlet.
It unfortunately is not, even though that also is on my list of things to make in the coming weeks. A nice tonkatsu ramen, like an authentic one. But no, I've been making a kotatsu, which is a Japanese heated table kind of thing. Basically,
Oh, it's one of those little oven tables, right?
Yeah,
Where
so if you watch
space heaters below it.
yeah, if you watch your little animes, that I'm building one because fuck paying $500 for one. I'd rather pay $300 to build a nice one.
Just remember not to fall asleep underneath the kotatsu or you'll catch a cold.
Correct.
And then you'll have cold tatsu.
Cold totsu?
Cold tootsies. You ever hear toes called tootsies?
Yes.
Yeah. You'll have cold tootsies.
But yeah, I'm building that right now, and I just bought the top panel piece that I'm going to be using. It is red oak. I'm going to stain it the same color as our piano that's upstairs, so it's going to kind of match. I'm thinking about doing some kind of crazy inlay thing. We'll see how it turns out. I'm excited.
Well, in my neck of the woods, as far as news is concerned, I've been sick with strep throat for a week straight, and I'm still on the mend. So I have not done anything exciting besides pop a bunch of penicillin and try to stay alive.
Is there a reason you got penicillin instead of amoxicillin? Is that normally what people use for strep?
So amoxicillin is a common choice, partially because there are a fair number of people who are allergic to penicillin, but also, I mean, I'm not a doctor myself, so I'm not 100% sure. But when it comes to dealing with, any sort of like microbes or bacterial infections, it never hurts to kind of mix it up on the drugs that you're using to make sure that the efficacy is still there. But I'm not allergic to penicillin, as far as I know. I have yet to swell up or get any rashes or anything. So with the, Wild West Clinic out here, penicillin's probably the best I can get. I have to call my doctor in. They arrive on carriage a day later. They break out their leather medical bag and root through their, different glass vials of pills, powders, and tinctures, and that's what I got from the lineup. And so until he's able to get out back east to pick up some amoxicillin, that's all I've got.
Don't you also have to pay him like a stipend up front? Otherwise, you'll just end up getting snake oil.
Yeah, exactly. If I don't pay him fairly up front, he could just try a risky bloodletting procedure that may go awry, and of course will cause my family to rack up some more debts to him as he tries to save my life. But that's a risky run.
Proud of you.
So video games, before we get into E3 and how that's going to probably eat up our entire episode. Oh,
Yeah.
no. I already know what games I've played. I don't need to see this. Get this out of here. What games did I play again? What order did I have it in? No, just joking. I didn't intend to play this game, or I didn't intend to play this game as like a way to see better time travel mechanics compared to Majora's Mask, which there's a special that is up on our YouTube and podcast feed with Tiffany and me not really tearing apart Majora's Mask as much as I thought we would be, but
enough that it hurt Scott's feelings.
yeah, sorry, Scott. I still stand by my claim that I think Majora's Mask is probably the worst Zelda game. It's the worst Zelda game I've played. But
I came out of our discussion, not to give any spoilers, realizing that it's a weaker game than I remember it being.
And it sucks
and
because
the
it
3DS
has,
remake weakened it.
yeah, it has a lot of really cool ideas, but it just doesn't necessarily deliver on them. And I guess like it makes sense that the directors of Zelda have basically written it out of the canon timeline at this point because
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, whatever, doesn't matter. Anyway, so I played a
Let's
game
hear why
that
Radiant Historia did it better.
exactly. Radiant Historia, I'm playing Perfect Chronology, which is a new version, which apparently has an updated ending and different story path. It also has updated character artwork and assets and so forth. I never played the original, so I can't really say like what else has been changed about it. And I'm not looking to spoil myself either for that regard. But it's an RPG for the 3DS, and it follows it follows a guy named Stock, who is basically an intelligence agent in a medieval steampunkish sort of world. And he's given something called the White Chronicle, which allows him to jump around different points in time to essentially correct what they say is to reveal the true timeline. I haven't gotten too far into it yet, only a few hours, but what I really do like about it is that the game isn't just like a matter of saving and reloading, not so much in the actual game mechanic itself, but using the White Chronicle or your time travel mechanic to go and pick your right decisions or the wrong decisions and then correct yourself. It's actually about going through different points in time, realizing that you need to do something that would only be possible by going down the wrong path. Go down that wrong path, figure out the thing it is that you need to do, and then go back on what at least seems to be the correct path. Another game I played that I kind of felt like was traveling back in time was Bloodstained's Curse of the Moon. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Bloodstained, the game, Ritual of the Night is the subtitle for like the main game. It was a Kickstarter project that was brought up by Koji Igarashi, who is, maybe it's unfair to just say this, but it certainly seems like he has the reputation for being the Symphony of the Night guy. When he joined the Castlevania development team, basically every game that came out after that was Symphony of the Night in style, like Aria of Sorrow,
Symphony of the Night,
Dawn of Sorrow, Legacy
of the Day,
of the Midday,
Symphony of the Night, Legacy of the Midday, Chronicles of the
Eve,
yes,
Evening of the Twilight.
Perfect.
No, but it's this particular game, Curse of the Moon, was basically a Kickstarter bonus tier where if they got funding high enough, they would make a game that was in spirit a Nintendo-style Castlevania creation. Where Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night is more of like a Symphony of the Night spiritual successor with obviously different characters, different story, and so forth. Completely different in terms of like an intellectual property from Konami. Curse of the Moon follows Castlevania 3, Curse of Dracula, almost to a T. And I don't know how far I want to talk about this game because I'm just going to say right now that it's the surprises that the game gives you that I'm hesitant to say it because it's only a $10 game, but that's also partly why I feel so strongly about it. I think this is so far my favorite game in 2018. It is fantastic. It combines like a lot of the same feelings I have, or it combines the feel of Ninja Gaiden. Like in Castlevania 3, you switch between 4 different characters. as spirits, if you will, but technically, like you're like morphing or transforming between these characters. In Curse of the Moon, you're changing between these 4 different characters as well. You start off with a guy named Zangetsu, who is basically Ryu from Ninja Gaiden, except maybe not as mobile. He can't really jump as high. You have Miriam, who's the main character from the main game, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. She uses a whip and has like a higher jump, and also does a like a sliding kick thing. So she's able to go underneath like small obstacles and so forth, where you otherwise wouldn't be able to with Zangetsu. You have an alchemist, I think, or apothecary named Alfred, who has a really shitty attack. He has like a staff, but the skills or weapons he gets are based around buffs or have other like very unique uses. So he's like very important to have around. And then you have Gebel, who is essentially Alucard. Like, he legitimately looks exactly like Alucard with a few exceptions to make him, like not a blatant ripoff. And Gebel is a vampire without being a vampire. His attack is sending out 3 bats in like a forward and upwards trajectory. So, like where Miriam,
a bat.
Yep, he can become a bat and attack in that form. But so he's capable of flying. And so, given these 3 different characters, along with Zangetsu, who you start with, you're able to go through these stages with multiple paths using each of their unique skill sets. The third game I played, and I've been playing quite a bit of it just in the last few days, is called Raft. It's a typical survival game where you have to gather resources and avoid or overcome obstacles. But Raft is interesting in that your resources are not always guaranteed, we'll say, and they're also not stationary. So in Minecraft, which is, one of the best examples of like a survival gathering game, your iron ore, your food, and whatever the hell else are basically going to be in one place, and you have to go and seek them out. In Raft, you basically have to go and find debris as it floats on this ocean, which, I should note too, Raft is a game where you start on a 2x2 crappy little floating raft with only a plastic hook to get or to gather debris with. So you gather debris, you slowly build upon your raft, and you, as the game gets further and further, find ways to create your own resources on your raft. Like, start farms or crops, plant trees, as crazy as that is. But in Raft's case, because you're on a raft in the ocean, it's never a question of like going back to your base. You're always at your base or very close to it, which is a nice thing. So you're constantly working on your base, and the base building itself is actually pretty enjoyable as a result. Like in Minecraft, and any other game I can think of where like the base doesn't come with you, you always have that downtime after gathering your resources that you need to go back to your base, which is usually like a 10-20 minute walk at that point, unless they have some sort of fast travel mechanic. So that's like a quality of life improvement just upon the game's design by itself. The other thing is that the threat, which is always occurrent, is the shark. And having a shark come and basically tear apart your raft at, it seems like, set intervals is a really nice way in the early game to make you feel like you're constantly kind of in like this paranoid mindset, because if he starts to tear apart a part of your raft that has like an important item or station at it, it'll also destroy that if you're not careful. So in the process, you have to build up defenses, spears, bow and arrow, etc., to fight off the shark as it attacks.
So, and forgive me, it's been a while since I've actually taken a biology course or read a book on it, especially like marine biology. But I thought sharks ate meat.
Yeah,
what are they doing taking bites out of your raft? Like, that seems like just a Jaws.
It is. This
gimmick.
Game is very unrealistic. So the shark obviously wants to kill you or eat you, but
it's not that picky about where it gets its calories.
Yeah, it seems like it. It'll tear apart your rafts as part of the objective, I guess, or goal.
I kind of wish it took priority over stations where you had like a vegetable garden because the shark is just that hungry for food.
But
it actually looks kind of fun. I like that concept of you never really leave the base. Do you ultimately end up like docking on islands or other like structures?
yeah, you end
in
up
the water?
using anchor, like an anchor, whether it's a temporary one or a permanent fixture, as a way to like ground or set the boat in one place as you explore islands. But the islands are
But
never
I
huge
assume-
or big.
Okay, and I assume with the islands you probably deplete the resources fast enough that that is the incentive to not stay.
Right. It like the islands as a whole don't really have a whole lot to offer, and there comes a point where your raft gets big enough and you have things like collection nets that sometimes the island actually will not give you as efficient a bounty, I guess, compared
I
to
see.
like just floating through the ocean collecting debris. But that
But you could
comes
start-
like in the late game, I would say.
Okay. I was going to say, because you can start a shark farm at that point. Just take the sharks that are leave little boats out for the sharks to eat and then kill the sharks when they come for the bait. And then you can start your shark farm empire on an island.
More or less, you could.
Okay. Well, I think I've solved this game. Let's
Though-
move on.
Though I would say that like there seems to be an end game, and again, this is early access, so it hasn't fully been threshed out. But the end game seems to imply that that the objective is not just so much survival, but it should be trying to find other life, or trying to do what you would do if you were stranded on an island or on a raft, I guess. But holy crap, it's fun to build up different designs for rafts and so forth. It's kind of dumb that the shark never gets harder to kill. And there never seems to be a way to stop the shark from tearing apart your ship on occasion. But, I mean, that's...
Does the shark get easier to kill?
Yeah, your weapons get stronger, but...
Can
Well,
you
would a
toss
shark
the
get-
shark bait?
I mean, I just imagined it would be nice if the game had implemented some sort of difficulty curve, whereas like once you start making certain types of items or like get the achievements for building a specific item, like a metal spear,
And you get multi-shark attacks?
yeah, 2 sharks maybe would be. I mean, that seems like the obvious difficulty
'Cause
I don't know,
climb
it-
from
it-
there.
Because why would a
makes
biological
more
creature get harder
sense.
to kill?
Yeah, why would a shark all of a sudden recognize that you have better weapon and like wrestle up his shark crew to take down your ship?
No,
I-
the shark
I
is
don't
definitely
know.
going to come in with armor.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be it could be something as simple as like it's a stronger shark breed or
It's a
something.
bigger shark.
I mean,
Yeah.
the game is already like very gamey in the way that you fucking purify water by having a large leaf covering up and serving as like sort of a hood to a very simple fire over a cup or under a cup of water. So
That's how that works.
is that really how it
Yeah.
works?
Yep.
So
yeah,
this-
you basically,
done
but
it.
you do it with plastic instead. You'd boil water in a metal container, have a plastic hood over it that will collect into a thing like below the fire, basically. So that way, all the
It's-
condensation will come down.
seriously, so you can actually purify seawater that way.
It's technically distillation. Like
Correct.
the only difference is you're distilling the water off and you keep it, as opposed to other human processes in which you distill the water off because you want something else out of it.
I.e., salt.
Okay,
Yeah,
but to
it is the number one like organic chemistry separation technique.
to further illustrate the gamification of the certain elements in this game, you never have to worry about starting fires. Your characters basically carry incarnate. Like, as long as you have wood, you can start a fire.
Oh, thank God! So it's not going to be the
Doesn't
long dark
sound
all
like the
over
long
again.
dark. Yeah.
It's like, God damn it! Just start the fucking fire. You've got a 90% chance of starting this fire. All right, let's do it. Flint broken. Fuck.
And again, just
Yeah,
like
it's like
in
I
a
went through
gamey
a
sense,
box of matches with a 90% chance.
in that same
Oh,
gamey
man.
sense, how do you fucking make a computer out of carbon, plastic? All of this is more or less debris, by the way. Carbon, plastic, and maybe metal ingots, and maybe seaweed.
Well, hey man, MacGyver, they let the wrong human survive. Except I guess in this case, you're probably more like MacDiver, but that's just added perk. I know the puns are flowing.
Ooh.
And we should probably flow into our big topic of the day since we're already so deep into the podcast.
Yeah, my apologies.
Do we
I did
wanna
not
get
mean to talk so much about these games, but holy fuck, I had a fun week with them.
I mean, that's good. I'm glad that you had a good week.
My
I don't
apologies,
know what our
Scott
listeners feel about that. Look, apology accepted. I know you had some goals on how you wanted to approach this, so I'm going to let you take the reins.
Well, rather, before I go, do either of you guys have games you want to talk about before we tackle E3?
I have pretty much finished Bloodborne proper into the point where I can confront Gehrman and then the moon presence or whatever. And I guess I have one question. If I lose to Gehrman in that fight, do I lose the whole game?
No.
Oh, okay. Because I was under the impression that if I was looking at something and I thought I had read it as in, if you lose to Gehrman, he kills you and the game is over and you get one of the other endings. So that's good to know.
At least I don't think so. I don't know if I...
Uh-oh. Did you beat Gehrman on your first try?
I might have. I don't remember.
Shit.
just
I mean,
be good.
I did actually end up beating the Soul of Cinder or whatever in Dark Souls 3 on my first try, so maybe it's not so bad. I've had a really good round this time. I found out the broken build to Bloodborne is arcane damage. But that's all I've been playing.
You mean you're
it's
using
on sale again.
You're using magic?
Yeah. Well, I'm using the Tonitrus and doing a shit ton of electricity damage. I fought a Bretus and I didn't even take a hit. Like, the fight was over in 30 seconds. I just slapped the shit out of her with my electric dumbbell. And I've kind of been doing that for most of the enemies in the end game.
A
Also,
Bretus?
I'm playing, a Bretus, Daughter of the Cosmos.
Oh,
something
okay,
like
okay.
that. She's an optional boss, but you need her to resurrect your...
Self?
I guess. No, not resurrect yourself. Resurrect the Queen of the Vile Bloods after you let Alfred turn her into a thin paste.
Oh, all right. I know what you're talking about now. I did not let Alfred do that. Sorry, go ahead.
I will
Keep
say
going.
I'll probably talk about the Old Hunters DLC down the line as I have started that before the end game, and there are already so many like wonderfully exciting little details and Easter eggs. Or I guess I have decided that I like Bloodborne better than Dark Souls because ultimately, at the end of the day, it does everything I like about Dark Souls, but adds a very fresh like twist and theme and setting to everything, as well as just like it's like getting to see a game genre that I really love for the first time, or like with fresh eyes. This Old Hunters DLC is amazing. As you see, like one little spoiler, for instance, is as you see in Bloodborne, as you continue forward, the progression of the night changes. You go from like dusk to late at night to blood moon, and then you start to have like a dawn-like atmosphere in the Hunter's Dream. And in the Hunter's Nightmare, in the Old Hunters DLC, the way you access it is through a blood-drunk hunter's eye, and the like disruption and collapsing of the structure of the iris is reminiscent of what the like, I don't know if it's the sun necessarily, but it looks just like the sky overhead in it, and so it's kind of like this suggestion that you're like it is the same type of artistic depiction as that eye, and so you're sort of in the eye in a sense in the dream, and it's cool little details like that that kind of push me over the edge as to why I think this game is amazing, and I'm sad that I slept on it for so long. And Neil, you're right, and I won't say that too often, but damn, it's a good game.
I've just been playing Hollow Knight, so it finally came out on Switch.
Also an excellent game. I'm a big fan of both of them. But let's roll into E3 if Cookie doesn't have any more Hollow Knight stuff to say.
No, I'm good.
E3
Cool.
press conferences, they happened. My mentality is we just kind of wing it. We can if you guys want to talk about the particular highlights you have for each or any of the conferences, we can do that.
I only watched Sony's conference and then caught up on all of the Nintendo games on YouTube. I know that was the worst conference to watch, I'm sure. But well, that's not true. Microsoft has a conference every year.
But Microsoft definitely has been making some strides. So maybe we just talk about the conferences as a whole. I think this year in particular, I don't really think I got that excited watching any of them, with like a few exceptions to individual moments, like games, when games were shown.
Yeah, I don't care about the conferences.
But I mean, like,
the games that I care about.
Comparing that to like 15 or 16, where we had people come up on stage that I actually wanted to hear talk, like Yoko Taro being escorted up because he can't see through his mask. That was 15, I think.
Maybe. I think you're just getting older, so you're caring less and less
Nier
about the
Automata
showmanship.
was part of 2017, so maybe it was 2016. Nier was released last year.
Okay, so no, but I think it was in development for a while after they announced.
Okay.
I don't know. All I know though is that like there have been years where there have been cool things, and for instance, I really do like, even though there's nothing live about it, I do like the E3. They're basically expanded Nintendo Directs. I usually like watching those. This particular year, without getting into like the game details, I kind of got tired of watching the announcement once they got through like the 30th different character in that fucking roster. Like
In Smash.
not we, but I get it. I know who's going to be in Smash.
Everybody.
Yeah, if you know that everybody's back, you know they're back. I think it would have been cool if they spent more time just highlighting.
But is everybody back?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so.
I can't name anybody who's not.
Meta Knight?
I'm
Meta Knight's
pretty sure he's
coming back.
back,
They didn't show him.
but he's
Yeah,
back.
but they didn't show everybody.
Yeah. So
Okay,
I mean,
let's talk roster super quick because this is actually important to me.
Snake, game over. Go away.
Yeah, they nerfed Snake's butt. I saw that was a problem for the community. And if you haven't seen that, they just took his character model and like shrank his butt till it's non-existent, which is a shame because if we're gonna objectify characters, why not Snake? Really? Ridley's in it, so I've found another character that I'm gonna try and learn to main, assuming he has a good kit. And they finally fixed my single complaint about Samus, which is now I can charge my shot in midair, and that's going to make me a top tier player again. Also, Young Link's back. That's all I need.
Snake, game over, man. Snake and Duck Hunt. Those are my characters.
there were some really interesting features that I thought made the game more desirable for me to play.
The perfect shielding and the punishing for like excessive dodging, I think were really great additions to a game that is wonderfully fun to play at a competitive level.
And the excessive dodging doesn't seem like it doesn't so horribly cripple dodging, but it does make it noticeably weaker or slower, I guess.
It's enough that a good opponent can exploit that.
Yep.
And a standard player probably won't notice much of a difference.
And that seems, again, assuming that's how it feels, that is exactly like what good tuning in games should be.
Absolutely
that's a perfect example of making
when the standard
something
player. Oh, go ahead.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. Making something less apparent to like your casual, but more noticeable to the expert.
Yeah, and I think it's a really fine line to walk. So I was super excited when I saw some of those changes. Also, the the aerial dodge with its directional inputs. I was talking to my sister about this. We grew up on Melee, and we're pretty sure that there was sort of a directional input on the aerial dodge in Melee that they took out for Brawl and 4, but we're not completely sure either way. I'm excited to see that implemented. There are a couple characters that can really utilize that'll make their recovery a lot better. But in general, it's just a nice feature to keep yourself from essentially floating into a guaranteed knockout.
Been there. Well, since I guess we're talking about Nintendo, my other exciting game for that is the Super Mario Party.
I'm going to admit this was going on while I was at work, so I tuned in for bits and pieces, and then I ended up watching.
You tuned out as soon as Super Mario Party showed up?
Well, it wasn't that specifically.
But that's what you were about to say.
But no, it was when they talked about using 2 Switches at once for it that I was like, nope, I'm done.
Oh my god,
I'm not
it
a
looks
2-Switch
so
household.
amazing.
I'm done.
And Cookie's like, I am a 2-Switch household.
Finally, something I can use my 2 Switches for that's not Nintendo Labo. Can you use 2 Switches?
Yeah.
Probably.
So
I do love to think that all the 2-Switch households like Cookie are like, they've been thinking about us. They've answered our prayers.
they fucked us on the pricing, or the online pricing, but finally.
But yeah, so
They care.
I'm super excited about, like, as soon as I saw the feature of they were playing the little tank game and they just kind of like oriented the switches and then just touch both screens to say they connect here, and then it was like, bam, game on.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
I don't know.
I love it.
Okay.
I'm
Any
excited.
other thoughts on that?
I would
I
have
think
been.
we might as well just do a hot round on the games that are interesting to us, and then like give them a little blurb from each of us.
But
if
before we
care to
did that,
speak
though, I
about
did
it.
want to talk about, in particular, a few of the press conferences.
Oh yes, sorry.
okay.
You said let's talk about press conferences
And then
Smash
we talk about
announcements.
Smash. No,
Let's talk
but that
about
literally
Smash.
is the Nintendo thing, and I think a lot of people entered Nintendo's press conference expecting Metroid Prime 4 footage, which I did too. I'll be honest.
Got
I
nothing.
forgot about that game.
And they also teased it in such a heavy way too when they before, like, as part of the Ridley reveal, when they showed Samus walking
Yeah,
through like a well rendered like Metroid-y level, and then suddenly you see Mario and was it Sonic? I can't remember who else.
It's Mario, and then I think maybe Pikachu or Kirby or something. It's essentially like some of the classic Smash fighters.
Yeah, as soon as you see those 2 characters, you're just like, oh, I guess it's not Metroid Prime 4. So maybe it's unfair for us to see or expect to see anything, given that the game's probably only been in active production for a year.
Given that the game probably they were like, oh yeah, we should make a Metroid Prime 4 game.
And that's what they showed last year. They were just like, well, we
Yeah.
decided we're going to start working on it at some point in time. Here is a title screen. But more importantly,
Yeah, they probably just released the title screen. They're like, depending on how the audience reacts, we'll actually follow through on this.
But let's bridge this over to Bethesda for a second, because Bethesda also had some expectations, and they at least showed some title screens for Elder Scrolls 6 and then Starfield or whatever that is. So, I mean, not even fanfare like that. And maybe that was unrealistic for us to expect. I know people wanted to see like another Zelda, but guys, Breath of the Wild just came out. Like, Zelda is not a once every 2 years production, unless you're
Absolutely not.
you're including like handhelds.
Game
but-
Boy.
Yeah.
and now they can't do that anymore because Switch.
Oh, and so that's another thing. Like, they did kind of underrepresent the 3DS.
Good.
Because they've
Good,
beaten it.
they should
They've built
kill it.
They've built
I mean,
a console that
now-
replaces it.
Now that I own a 3DS, I realize how many good games are actually on the 3DS. It's kind of like the PSP moment I kind of had when I bought a PlayStation Vita, because you can get most of those games on.
And it's
the
like,
PS
there was
Vita.
a bunch of PSP games.
There's a
it's like,
shit ton of
Yeah.
like Japanese RPGs,
Mhm.
which are like my jam. So
I used to own a PSP, then I owned a Vita, and then I got rid of them both because fuck them.
no, it's not good. Not good. That's kind of disappointing, I guess. Like, regardless of how unrealistic the expectations are, we also didn't see a Pokemon next gen game, so to speak, or a
That's
Switch.
supposed to be next year
Yeah.
that we'll get that.
Yeah, and instead we get more highlights on Pokemon Let's Go, Eevee, or
So
Pikachu,
excited.
which more or less seems to be a slightly expanded upon Pokemon Go.
Which I'm fine with, actually. I'm kind of actually excited for it.
I'm curious
very
about it, but it's
excited.
not what we've wanted for how many years now?
Have we really
it is
wanted
kinda
anything?
what I want, though.
I have always said that I would be totally down for a Pokemon game that is set on a console as opposed to a handheld that has a little more narrative. And they've been adding the narrative.
Wait, a little more narrative? Have you played a Pokemon game?
Well, they've gotten
you
better
talking-
at the narrative.
Because it's the same story.
Yeah, yes and no. Yeah, you're not wrong. It is the same outline, but they have slowly introduced more things with your characters developing a little bit of personality. Like, what is Black and
Neil.
White 2, the most recent one?
Maybe.
Yeah, that one is a good example of the
No,
story narrative.
Alola.
I just have a quick question.
What's up?
Did you ever play Pokemon Coliseum? Did either of you ever play Pokemon
Yes.
I
Coliseum?
played a bit of it.
Is that the level of narrative that you want? Because I think that is a good narrative game and a really shitty Pokemon game. Like,
Correct.
I couldn't see past the gameplay to get into the story, which is
Exactly.
usually not my problem. So I can't
the
tell you.
gameplay is really bad, but the story is pretty cool for
Pokemon-
for what it is.
Pokemon Coliseum, the Pokemon Stadium 3 that we really were hoping it would be Pokemon Stadium 3.
Yeah. So I don't know. I understand you. I just want to pitch my excitement for this game is this is one of the few Pokemon generations I actually know and understand. And it looks like they are reverting to the original like move sets of the first generation, which is always nice. And then 2, I'm going to be able to share this 2-player experience with like my significant other. Like I'm so excited to play this game with my girlfriend.
That's the one
and
right
it's going
there.
to be a blast. Yeah. Or Cookie's excited to play it with his wife. Or shit, even Ollie might join in. Like the controls are going to be simple enough. You can just hook it on his collar.
Ollie will
But
just
what's really
throw
cool
the
about this
Pokeball.
too is they've taken out the grinding element of battle Pokemon, get them weak, capture them, and followed more of the anime's perspective of,
Ooh, I
hey,
like this
there's
Pokemon.
this Pokemon. I'm going to throw a ball at it. I'm going to try and catch it. Like, I really like that they're subverting that particular approach because that's what I started to really dislike about Pokemon was battling all these wild Pokemon and them essentially like wasting my time. Like, I don't want to fight 20 Zubats. Now I'm going to be essentially bumping into 20 Zubats and choosing whether to catch them or not. But if I have 999 Pokeballs, I'm just going to start chucking them at the Zubats until they go away. Like, I will reduce the Mount Moon cave population and it'll give my Pokemon experience. And I like that mechanic so much better than having to fight them. And rant. That's all I have to say is like, I am very excited to see this implemented. And if it goes well, I have a pretty good hunch that it's going to be a maybe more prevalent component in these upcoming Pokemon games. Like maybe our next gen Pokemon game on the Switch will actually also borrow from this Pokemon Go format in which battles and catching Pokemon are two completely distinct activities that happen in the game.
Okay, so I just have one complaint regarding Eevee. Eevee's cool because they have all these different evolutions, right?
But you
Yeah.
can't evolve Eevee, so it seems like a waste.
So at that point, I'm switching my bet to getting the Pikachu
But
version.
I also don't want to deal
Yeah.
with Pikachu. I've heard enough Morgana, all right?
Pikachu learns double kick, baby. You need that.
For-
How else are you going to fight Brock? Get a Mankey? Nah.
For reference, the voice actor for Morgana in Persona 5 is the same as Pikachu in terms of the
Detective
Japanese cast.
Pikachu? Really?
No, not Detective Pikachu. I'm just saying that, like,
That's Deadpool.
as much Persona 5 as I've played with the Japanese voice acting, I've heard enough Pikachu. I don't need to
Yeah.
hear Pika-P anymore. I've already been
That's
told to go
fair.
to bed in Japanese enough times.
I don't know what to do with an Eevee that is only going to learn it's only going to learn normal type attacks then.
Exactly.
Or
so at that
maybe
point, it's
some
like
fighting type.
Apparently, you
want a
don't care for
sand
your
attack
Pokemon.
machine?
You don't like your Pokemon for their personalities or like the bond you build for them.
No,
Instead,
it's all about
you use them
dogfighting.
as uses. Yeah, exactly. It's fucking.
I only pick
anime
Pokemon that
dogfighting.
look good and have the type have the type advantages that I want, and that's why I'm a Cloyster fanboy. It looks cool. Its stats aren't that great, but it checks that water type and that ice type box. So there
those
you
are
go.
good
That is-
boxes.
yeah, that's my reasoning.
Okay, Bethesda, real quick.
Doom Eternal.
I don't know. Wait, what?
Oh my gosh, Doom Eternal, man.
Oh,
That's,
sorry. I thought you said Tomb something. So
I thought he
okay.
said
No.
that too. But no,
Doom
about the,
Eternal is going to be great. Elder Scrolls 6 has been announced, like we talked about.
But we know
That
it's not going to be years
got a lot
out
of
because they
people
said it
hyped.
was going to be after Starfield, and Starfield didn't have anything to show other than a fucking
Starfield.
and a planet. So
it was a ship and a planet, so it's many years out. Yeah.
yeah. Which I mean, I'll be honest. It's not helpful when you set a precedent with Fallout 4, and that hey, we can be working on projects that are going to be months out from release and not tell you about them until then. And
Yeah,
now
that
it's
was
like
a
now we're
very
playing the
cool
waiting
approach.
game.
Now we're playing the Sony game.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
But hey,
Last Guardian.
Elder Scrolls Blades. I'm excited for that.
Is that that's
Yeah.
a mobile game or something, right?
And a VR game.
I'm
So the people on their iOS device, on their iPads, can be playing with the people on their PlayStation VRs, which I
It's
kind of find that
interesting, yeah.
I find that interesting. So that's what excites me about that.
which is one of the few times you're going to have PlayStation actually connected to other
I
consoles
know,
or formats.
right? Sony.
We're not
What the fuck?
We're not going to talk about that. We have too much on our plates today. Fallout 76. Obviously, that looks more interesting to me now than the rumors had made me feel a couple weeks ago.
This game actually makes me want to play a Fallout
Because it's actually
online.
is it the fact because you can have like multiplayer that interests you most?
Yeah, it's the online aspect of hey, we can change the world and affect it by effectively throwing off these nukes and destroying places.
I'm super curious to know how that's going to work. Is it just a matter of like different servers or like occurrences or world occurrences, or are they like exactly what that's going to be like? Is it my save has its own situation and stuff, and when other people join my game, we can influence it, and like your save has its own things too. So if I joined you, your world would be different from mine.
No, it sounds like this game's just purely going to be an MMO with like smaller
Smaller numbers overall.
Yeah.
So not like
Yeah,
MMO
they're gonna
as in
try and
massive
keep-
multiplayer,
but more like MMO as in Guild Wars the original, where you have the MMO hub world, and then as soon as you left the town, you were in your own little instance, unless you invited people
So-
to it.
It's an SMO in that case, like a small multiplayer online.
Yeah,
like Phantasy Star Online.
Yeah. Except
I'd be-
that's PSO.
I'd be super curious about there being just a multiplayer cooperative mode available if you can set up a game that way, because I'm not sure I necessarily like it's a first person shooter, and they're obviously going to have to take out the VAT system, because that would otherwise mean your battles would take 30-40 minutes getting through a small
How
firefight
would you
because
even
everyone wants
do
to
that?
go into
You'd
VATs.
get paused, yeah.
Yeah, you just want it. It's not going to be a thing, right?
yeah.
So, I mean, show me a Fallout that actually shoots and plays well in that regard, and I'll show you something that doesn't exist. I don't know. Fallout 4 is better, but I can't.
Fallout 4's gunplay is a pretty big improvement upon the previous games.
I just can't imagine wanting to get good at it to have like a competitive edge over other players. So, I'll be more interested in it if I can make basically a weenie mode where it's just cooperative, but we'll see. And if there's actually like a decent story element to it.
We'll see.
I do like the look of the enemy design in this game quite a bit. Like I hope they carry forward some of this enemy design into their next actual title, which, will be years and years and years out, but that like sloth looked cool, or the weird honeybee hive, or the giant mass that I can't seem to find a face on.
The
Like, that's-
Mothman?
Is it a Mothman?
I mean, they have. I don't think that's what you're
It's-
talking about, but Mothman's
It's like Mothman's in it. Yeah, that's right. No, I'm talking about the thing that looks like a tank from Left 4 Dead, sort of. But anyway,
Yeah.
nonetheless, like I'm not going to probably buy this game because I'm not interested in the multiplayer experience. But I am excited to see it do well, so these things can be implemented into a new Fallout game that I may want to buy or play in the future.
I'll get it.
I might.
Because I'm excited
Depends.
for the multiplayer features. That's like the only reason I'm like, oh, I'm interested in this Fallout because it's got more than one person.
Yeah.
But about the conference itself, I don't remember it.
They announced Skyrim, a very special edition.
Oh, yes.
That was
I
kind
want
of
this.
a funny thing.
I
Yeah.
want that. I want that so hard. Actually, I would literally buy an Amazon Echo just for that and another version of Skyrim.
There's like a level of maybe what's the word I'm looking for? At times it makes you think that they're aware of their own problems, like the fact that they brought up the whole Skyrim's a very special edition. They realized that they released Skyrim so many times that it was dumb. But in the same press conference, they also announced Fallout Shelter for PlayStation 4 and Switch and Xbox One. I don't remember if that was
No,
part
it's
of the
already
new
on
thing.
Xbox One, but it's not that good on the Switch.
But like, regardless, why spend the time to make an announcement about this game when maybe I'm just being an asshole, but I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Well, it was a really good game on the iPad. Like, it feels really nice on an iPad. And that's the only other thing I've ever played that on. It feels not really nice on the Switch.
But why was that the start of their keynote speech or close to the start? I don't recall, but why prioritize it? It's a 2-year-old mobile game that honestly, when I heard it was coming out for PlayStation 4 along with Switch, it kind of occurred to me, oh, I thought it was already out on PlayStation 4. Not that it ever matters because I'm never going to play it again because it's fun, but it's also
Yeah.
kind of monotonous. But that's kind of how I felt about their whole press conferences. Their whole press conference. It's just like, are they really aware of what problems they have? I don't know. And we really didn't get that much interesting shit out from this conference. Fallout 76, okay, that's fine. Oh, there's a helmet that you can wear. Cool.
I do really want that very special edition, though. It's honestly just pretty much like you're playing Dungeons and Dragons with Amazon
With
at that
Alexa,
point.
yeah. That's funny. I appreciate if that actually turns out to be fully fleshed out, then that would be hilarious
How
to
many
play.
things of cheese do I have?
You have to. I eat all the cheese. Remember what your doctor said. I eat all the
I
cheese.
eat most of the cheese.
To be honest, EA felt very strange to me.
What games do they have?
Anthem, which looks basically like we talked about this last week, but
Yeah.
I
Battlefield
guess I don't
5.
have to go into any of this since we talked about it. It just
Yeah.
seems half-hearted, and if I'm an EA shareholder right now, I would be very anxious about whether or not I'm getting any more money from that company anytime soon. Luckily, I'm not on the board of directors.
I'm actually kind of curious as how their stock is doing. That you mentioned
Are they a
that.
publicly shared company? I would not purchase their shares. Nintendo's shares
yeah.
fell after E3, which I thought
Crazy
was
though.
kind of dumb. Yeah. So talking about Sony and Xbox.
Holy fuck!
Are they low?
No.
Are they high?
So look at May.
Wow. Fucking. How was that? Oh, wow.
I don't know.
Apparently, buying up studios and shutting them down is a lucrative business. That much we know.
Good shit. In May, EA was around between $115 and $120 per share. Now they are at $146.
Speaking of buying out companies, though, Microsoft, they're. All right, I'm just going to say this up front. I have always been very reluctant of Microsoft press conferences.
This was the press conference that made me ask my wife seriously if I can buy an Xbox.
But you had an Xbox One recently, too, right? Or recently, within the last couple of years?
Oh, no. Never had an Xbox One.
Oh, you had 360s, though.
Yeah. We had 360s, and then Sony bought us off. And then Sony did what they did this year. And Microsoft was like,
I mean,
we still got real good games, guys.
Let's talk about that for a second, though. Like, what are we actually going to have this year with Xbox exclusives?
Session.
Which is Skate 4, basically.
And more Forza.
Yes. And they bought out 5 or 4 different... I think they bought 4 different game companies or developers out,
5.
and one of them turns into 2 in the process. Am I wrong?
Oh, maybe. I'm not sure. I didn't do any looking up of that. They said we got 5. and then Team Ninja Theory was on that list, and that's where all of my hopes and dreams got shattered.
Well, so why is that exactly?
I don't remember what Team Ninja Theory makes, but I know they make games that I enjoyed playing.
They made Senua's Sacrifice, Hellblade. They made Heavenly Sword.
Oh yeah, Heavenly Sword was good. Wait, is Team Ninja Theory not the same people who make that one game, Ninja Gaiden, or that other ninja game?
Ninja Gaiden is made by...
Is there another ninja themed?
There is another
developer?
ninja-themed developer. I can't remember who it is. Are you talking about the one that is owned by Koei Tecmo?
Oh, never mind. So yeah, okay.
So I mean, like, it's good that they're investing money by acquiring studios. I think people are maybe overhyping these acquisitions a little too much because 2 of these companies were already making Xbox exclusives. So now you're basically just ensuring they're not going to jump ship like 343 Studios. Or no, excuse me.
646.
Bungie. Bungie Studios.
No, that's 343.
Yeah, well, Bungie though was making Xbox exclusives, and then they obviously were not making Xbox exclusives and are not now, and are now owned by Activision Blizzard. But so they're preventing that from happening through a couple of these companies. I can't remember the studio name that makes Forza Horizon, but they bought them out.
Not Turn 10. The Horizon's made by the other company. But yeah, they've locked that down, so definitely going to still keep buying Forza games on my PC.
PC.
Unless my wife lets me buy an Xbox One, which I kind of want.
Well, so the 2 names that I think were most notable for me were Compulsion Games and the Ninja Theory. And Ninja Theory, like, I have a whole nother set of opinions on Ninja Theory.
But it's okay, because they're going to stay the same. They're going to have the same creative freedom that they've had forever, but with the backing of Microsoft.
It's like, okay, yeah, does this... I'm usually not the type of person that really feels like being on a quote-unquote major label matters. So, like, talking about the whole band thing of, like, selling out and being signed by a major label, I doubt it usually influences your music that much. But, like, at the same time, they are saying the exact same thing that every band that has signed to a major label after spouting all of their nonsense and ideology about staying on an independent or self-published label basically means. And
we get to be ourselves, but richer, like with more money. And you know what that means? More mocap. We get more mocap with that. And that's it. That's all that EA wants to do is give us more mocap.
It seems super disingenuous to me. And again, I'm actually like, I'm not faulting them for the move because having a stable income is the most important thing in life. Like in terms of living in a capitalist society, you have to make sure you can feed your coworkers, your employees, and continue to do what it is that you love to do. And getting paid for that is nice. So no fault to that there.
So you hear it, Fancy Ramen listeners.
Support
Pepsi,
our Patreon.
Coke, whoever. No. So I'm not criticizing them for that, but I criticize them just... I think it's just worth... Maybe not criticizing. That's probably not the right word. It's worth pointing out that, like, the company that was supposedly going to be the heralds of AAA or AA indie development are basically proving to us that it's not fucking possible.
Correct.
And I also noticed that in their video talking about their decision, they showed like an article stating Platinum Games was following suit to them. And I just kind of smacked my head because I was like, well, Platinum, it's not like they're in a similar situation. They self-publish when they can and when no one wants to pay them for the games that they want to make. It's completely different. I don't know. I just got kind of rubbed the wrong way by that whole promo video about selling out to Microsoft. I use that term because it feels like
Because after they made the announcement, after they made the video, then it felt like selling out to Microsoft, because then they acknowledged that they were selling out to Microsoft, rather than, just Microsoft saying, hey, we bought all these companies, and then just slowly working the grindstone of saying, yep, we've been purchased, still typing away frantically and coding. Nope, they were like, Microsoft was like, hey, we bought this company. They're like, we're not changing.
It's like, why? Yeah, I don't know. Like, maybe not saying anything would have appeared just as bad, but I don't think you would ever need to justify it. Basically selling your company off,
well,
right?
If you don't say anything, then you're not justifying it. So,
but it just seems more sleazebaggy to try and justify the move. Like, if it doesn't need justification, then it's perfectly fine. And by justifying something, it makes me feel like you've done something wrong, and that's why I'm like, oh, this. I don't know.
Right, it strikes you as we're trying to get in front of things approach, as opposed
Yes.
to hey, we're just updating everybody on our stuff.
Question.
Michael Cohen was only a coffee boy, guys. Don't worry about it.
So what's Compulsion Games make?
Contrast, and then We Happy Few.
Oh, okay, I'm fine with that.
And you say that because if you don't necessarily own an Xbox, you may not be able to play their games. That's kind of my approach.
Contrast was the first PlayStation Plus game for the PS4. Real good playthrough. We Happy Few, I still own it because I bought in early after seeing the trailer and then not knowing that the game was just going to be a survival horror game.
Yes and no. I mean,
I was hoping for like a narrative. I just want to go through, shoot some people, take my joy, and be good to go. I didn't want to collect mushrooms and do all the random side quest things.
like, you kind of wanted to. It's weird to make this comparison now, but when I looked at it, I was kind of like, I kind of want a BioShock Infinite game, like something that has a good narrative approach. The game itself is straightforward enough, but gives you some flexibility in how you play it.
Exactly. I didn't want a full open world of,
right.
Hey, I open a hatch. Now I'm in this one area.
And the narrative standpoint will definitely be there in the full game. But no, like, there's some weirdness there too. But no, I agree with you. When I heard that announcement, I was like, okay, we don't really know what the studio's capable of, because Contrast is a very different game compared to what they're making now. Like, it's kind of like a Don't Nod situation, where Don't Nod made Life is Strange narrative adventure game, which has interesting things going on, and then they started making Vampire, which is out now, I believe, but looks kind of janky, we'll say. So we don't necessarily know like what they're going to be capable of, and what We Happy Few is going to ultimately be. It makes me nervous to a standpoint that they've released that game in early access in the past on Steam, and then they pulled it from the store at one point, which now makes a lot of sense if Microsoft bought them out at that same point in time, or were in talks to.
Wait, so does that mean I still have it?
You still have it, but
Okay.
I'm curious if they're going to. I'm assuming they're going to put it back up on sale, but part of me is wondering if it's going to go back up on sale on Steam, because it could be an Xbox exclusive on Windows, or the Windows Store exclusive at that point. I'm very curious.
Curiouser and curiouser. But yeah, Session. I'm excited for that. And Forza Horizon, shit, that's always a beautiful game.
Yeah. Microsoft as a whole seems like they're doing good things.
Microsoft as a whole seems like they said $5.99 and then quickly started fixing their shit.
Yeah.
And PlayStation as a whole seems like they said $5.99, $4.99, and then quickly got on the Microsoft train of fucking shit up. Shit, Microsoft had the fucking Kingdom Hearts announcement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Microsoft made Kingdom Hearts a real game. That's mind-boggling to me.
But I mean, does that really mean anything for them as a brand? Yes, they announced it, but what good is that going to do for them in a player base that's mostly PlayStation 4 owners now, especially for a game that has
That
started
Sony's-
on PlayStation?
Well, I think so. The main thing that's going to do for Microsoft is it's going to get people like me thinking less about PlayStation, because Sony said 5 years ago, 10 years ago, Kingdom Hearts 3, guys. And then every year for 10 years, they've been saying Kingdom Hearts 3, guys, Kingdom Hearts 3, guys. Then Microsoft comes in, Kingdom Hearts 3, release date, boom.
Yeah. I guess I see that. I understand where you're going with that. But coming from the standpoint of what are your exclusives, and we see that they're building towards that. But, I mean, again, this is the company that hyped up Scalebound after it had been internally canceled.
Why would you do that? Anyway.
Crackdown 3 is not out yet. How many
Crackdown
years
3 doesn't exist.
have we been waiting on? I mean, not personally waiting, but how many years has Crackdown 3 been?
I think Xbox One, because it was originally supposed to be a part of their
Release
DRM Haven was Crackdown 3.
Just as a whole, like, chalk me up to saying that Microsoft is going in the right direction. They've done a lot of good things, including bringing back, or, bringing to the forefront the compatibility question thing, bringing in Xbox Games Pass. Like, unequivocally, they do a better job than PlayStation and than Sony in a lot of different things. And they also they're also doing a lot of good, bringing up the accessibility controller earlier this month.
Oh, yeah, that thing looks awesome.
I can't remember if they have a specific release date for that now, but...
And the whole fact that they were the original ones that were saying, no, we're not cross-playing with anybody because we're the big dogs, and then Sony being like, oh yeah, cross-play, that sounds great. We were the first ones to do it with the PC. And then Microsoft being like, okay, yeah, we'll get into cross-play, and Sony being like, whoa, we got to protect our player base, guys.
Which
no intermingling here.
Which, like, I don't know. There's a part of me that wants to point out exactly that Xbox was very against it initially, and then when they
fell
in terms of just
grace.
what the consumer base had in terms of equipment or consoles, they reversed that, which seems like typical company, just typical policy bullshit, and making sure that your brand stays on top. For both Sony and Xbox, those are both bad things that they're doing. But it's also getting to a point now where I'm starting to, I mean, not even starting to, but it's gone to a point now where I think most people can agree that it's gone on too long and too far with PlayStation.
And I guess one reason that I really want to buy even though this doesn't affect me like super hard, that I want an Xbox One rather than a PlayStation 4 at this point, kind of, is because Fortnite came out on the Switch. One of my friends was like, hey, I really like Fortnite. I want to play it with you. And he only owns a Switch. So I was like, sweet, I'll download Fortnite on the Switch and bring everything over. Sony's like, nah, man. Nah, you can't do that.
Right. If you play it on PlayStation with your account is essentially banned from Switch and from Xbox.
PC.
Oh,
Xbox.
PC as well.
Yep. So basically had to, and with Fortnite, it's who makes Fortnite?
Epic.
Yeah, so it's an Epic login. So I literally had to use a different email address to play Fortnite on another console using an Epic server login. And Epic was like on the Switch, it's like this account is locked to the PlayStation. This account is locked to a different console. Epic nor Nintendo can do anything about this.
You know what? Epic is also at blame, in my opinion, because you don't agree to set up this stupid bullshit if that's what you're going to have to force your players through. So I don't think they're not at fault for this. Nintendo has no hand in it. They're just releasing the game, right?
Nintendo's quite literally just like, we're the platform.
Yeah.
Then this is the first time anyone on the PlayStation has been even tried to like log into Fortnite on anything else, because they're like, oh, because most PlayStation owners also own a Switch. Because why would you be a PlayStation owner and own a Xbox?
Right.
So it's like, oh yeah, let's do this, and everyone's like, damn.
I mean, why play a first-person shooter on anything other than keyboard and mouse? But that's just me.
Because the R button's way too far. It's weird to hit the R button to reload.
You could use a controller and a mouse at the same time.
No.
Sounds like the worst layout I've ever heard of.
This is legitimately the correct way to play. Mouse movement's always going to be superior. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. The flexibility.
I can't fault you for that. Agreed.
The mouse is important, but obviously the analog stick for WASD movement, as we'll put it, is far superior than WASD. I can go forward and backwards at the same speed or hold shift to alter that speed, depending on what first-person shooter game you're playing. With an analog stick, I can have full control over those things.
And then where are your buttons, Neil? Where are your buttons?
Scuff, baby. You got that Scuff controller. You're going to get 2 buttons on the back with paddles. You're going to get your 2 R or L buttons, excuse me. And then you're going to have a D-pad configuration for anything that you might want there.
Wait, would you even need that many buttons? Because your mouse click is going to be your aim and your shoe.
Right, exactly. And then you're also going to have the scroll to do inventory select if you're a scrub. But if you have like a gaming mouse, you likely have 4 different buttons on there instead of your typical, Cookie's showing us with 12 buttons on the side. Like, holy cow.
It's an MMO mouse.
Yeah, no.
So you need all the buttons.
I grip the mouse too much in tense moments that I would probably fuck up something in
Just
the
press
process.
all the buttons. It's like, why do you hit 1?
or just set all
That
of the buttons to
explains how you
taunts.
play League.
Set all the buttons to taunt. I like it. But what were we talking about?
Microsoft as a whole, and Fortnite and crossplay with Sony, which we can talk about the Sony's press conference, which was
A mess?
yeah. I asked myself
you
if
didn't
they
like the flute then.
No,
You
I
didn't
enjoyed
enjoy the wood flute.
I enjoyed the flute. I enjoyed the banjo. I enjoyed them switching between 17 different studios. I
want to correct you. It was not a banjo. It was a geetjo.
Oh yeah, it was a geetjo. Like that is so.
I mean, it wasn't a
dumb.
flute either. I don't think.
Wait, what's wrong with the geetjo? It's like
So you can't take the elegantness of a banjo and then just smash it with a guitar and say, "Hey, I know how to play banjo," but you're really just playing a guitar with the fucking
right,
banjo thing.
right. You can't say you know how to play banjo because you obviously cannot. But you can say you can play geetjo because there are certain things you can just not play on a banjo that you can play on a guitar and vice versa.
Like
So,
what? I've been listening to a lot of banjo music lately.
Like bar chords.
You can play bar
No,
chords.
but you can't play the same bar chords. You can only play 5 notes tops on a banjo. You can play 6 on a guitar or a geetjo.
There's 6-string banjos.
Geetjo. I don't know the specifics behind like the various unique or rare forms of banjos, but if there's a 6-string banjo, is it still tuned in 5ths as opposed to 4ths then? Or?
I don't know. Either way.
Welcome to Fancy Ramen, the music instrument podcast.
But no, so then they switched between like several different stages and venues for Sony, and even like so I will say I did like the little mini breaks of PlayStation's dreams between each little thing, but even like when they would go from, hey, this guy's playing banjo, now we're showing Last of Us 2, then they go to the cutting to the people outside who are confused that they're even still doing it, and Scott, damn you for not plugging Fancy Ramen again.
Yeah, Scott showed up again there.
And then it would like cut to a different place, and I was like, oh, okay, so I guess they're in this venue now. Then it cut back to those guys outside, Scott still not doing anything for us. And then they cut to a different venue. They cut to a different venue, and it's like, okay. And then it's like, okay, I think the press conference is over. Then they cut to the people again, and then they're like, okay, so the press conference isn't over? Because I think IGN even like cut to IGN, then cut back, and then they were like,
Oh,
now
it's
PlayStation
over now.
VR.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it was especially weird and off-putting, and at times I was like, is there some bad technical issues going on? Because it feels like this show just got thrown together afterwards in a way that they were trying to cover their asses because something went wrong at the first venue. Because they did the first venue with like 2 showcases or 2 game trailers and 2 music performances, and then there was a lot of talking with Scott on camera, and then it cut to the main theater.
stage.
Yeah, and I don't know. It seemed like something did not go as they planned. I don't know if that's true or not, but it certainly didn't feel right. What I said before we started recording was it kind of felt like every company, at least Microsoft specifically and a few others, kind of took note of what Sony had been doing the last couple of years for E3 and did a good job replicating that. And Sony forgot how they held press conferences.
Sony fired Pam last year, and Pam was really the key factor in putting E3 together.
And Xbox picked up Pam instantly. They were like, we know Pam. She does good work.
Everyone's like, who's this lady you just hired? It's Pam. Don't worry about it.
It also felt really weird because the two musical performances at the start of the show were, meant to be taken seriously. And then when they did the Dreams interludes or whatever, transitions, it was literally people playing bad music.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's great.
What kind of message are you trying to tell us about your own musical interludes between performances or between trailers? Like, are you literally poking fun at yourselves at this point for just having overly long musical things that maybe other people wouldn't enjoy? I thought they were fine, maybe a little long, but
they were a little long. But I enjoyed the Geet Joe. I forgot what you even called it.
After you tore it apart.
Well, I tore it apart for
Banjo-tar.
not being an actual banjo.
Yeah,
I enjoyed his playing though.
you'd enjoy it more if it were an actual guitar. Yeah,
I'd enjoy it more if it was an actual banjo.
then he couldn't play it. There are certain transitions there that you can't do with a banjo. The range is limited. The real point that I'm getting to is it just felt like there was no cohesion in that show. And honestly, like as a whole at this point, I'm starting to think it would be just much more enjoyable had they just never have people speaking on stage. Just show me a pre-recorded thing like Nintendo usually does.
Nintendo's got the right idea.
Yeah. At this point, I'm convinced. unless you bring up Kojima to talk, I don't care. Unless you bring up Swery to talk about his cat petting simulator, I don't give a shit about who's talking. Actually, sorry, go ahead.
But would you really want to listen to Kojima talk? Because all you're going to get is a bunch of questions in Package Carrier Simulator 2018.
Yeah, so we can talk about those real quick too, I guess. While Sony's conference as a whole felt like a shit show, the games actually looked pretty solid. Ghosts of Tsushima.
Oh wait, before
sorry.
you bring up Ghost of Tsushima,
Yeah.
so are you on the Shadows Die Twice train? Or are you on Ghost of Tsushima? Because they're both the same game, but one looks like a From Software game, and one looks like who'd you say earlier?
One looks like From Software and one looks like... Wait, are you talking about the... I said that not Ghost of Tsushima. I thought...
Shadows Die Twice.
What was it? Sekiro?
Sekiro.
Yeah, I thought Sekiro kind of looked like it could have been developed by Platinum Games with a different graphical designer, basically.
Yeah, but
it's too gritty to be Platinum, but it looks more like Platinum than From Software.
So From Software made Shadows Die Twice, which is this hack and slash looking game, and then Ghost of Tsushima made by whoever looks
I can't remember
like a From Software game that looks super beautiful that I'm super excited about.
That game looks more like Bushido Blade finally got brought into a modern light, and that excites me. But at the same time, there's a lot of things that kind of annoy me. Like, why do all of your voice actors have that weird sort of vague Asian
Because we didn't want to actually need the subtitles, so we just hired white people we hired not white people, let's say we hired white Asians.
But it's like, why have actors have a kind of vague Asian accent or Japanese accent when they're speaking in English?
Because they need to be Japanese. We're whitewashing too much, Neil.
Oh, okay, but my problem is, and then you have Mongolian, or I don't know if that's a language, but Mongolian in the game as well. So it makes sense that you give the Mongols a different language because you don't want the player to necessarily understand them, since they are supposed to be a different.
Because the main character's not
ethnicity.
supposed to understand them.
Right, but I don't understand, if your character speaks English, why would he have an accent if he's not going to speak the accent that his language is based upon, or the language that his accent's based upon. Like, just have them speak English. Like, you don't need to give them a Japanese accent because they're Japanese. Fucking have them speak English or Japanese.
But then you don't. But then people won't understand them.
What? No, if they're English, they'll understand them fine. I'm just saying it's one of those scenarios where, like, you don't need to necessarily have personality behind someone's voice because they happen to be a different race. It's like they're speaking fucking English.
But then we'd have too many white people. And then everyone's going to complain about killing Nazis and white people.
I don't know. Maybe that's just like a weird thing I had, but I just noticed, like, why? Yeah, I just asked myself, like, why would they need to cast the Asian woman to have, like, an Asianish accent if they're speaking English natively in this game?
Ooh, maybe they're all from Asia. Wait, but yeah, no,
maybe they're in the part of Japan where they speak English, but not natively. No,
exactly. Either way, so Ghost of Tsushima or Shadows Die Twice. Which one are you going for? Which one are you going for?
Scott, do you have
Shadows
a preference?
Die Twice. Oh yeah, I already answered it. I'm there. I want my trick arm weapon.
Okay, so he's going more for the hack and slash, less Dark Souls, more.
We say that, but who knows exactly how
Ghost of Tsushima is going to play.
Yeah,
because we know how Shadows Die Twice is.
Yeah, I'm confident that it's going to have a very robust parry system if it's from software. And the whole trick bone grappling hook umbrella arm thing just seems way too cool to pass up on.
I really want that that I guess at times slow methodical combat to immediate quick fast response that you could argue is like the idealized form of Bushido Blade for the PlayStation. And maybe Ghost of Tsushima is going to pull it off well, but I feel like Sekiro is more of a proven product already, or it has a proven background. Like, I don't think I've played a From Software game that I have not liked, including games like Armored Core.
Armored Core was From Software. Yeah. I liked Armored Core.
I'll be honest, I'm super disappointed, while we're on the topic of From Software and Sony, that their VR game is not an Armored Core game, because that would have been amazing.
Oh, did you know
it would have.
Zone of the Enders is VR?
What? Really?
Yeah, I've got the demo on the PlayStation VR already.
Another Kojima classic.
Zone of the Enders. Anyway, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about
Sony and their games.
Jump Force.
Well, there is a game that I don't recall seeing Jump Force.
So Jump Force, was Jump Force in the Sony press conference? Either way, Jump Force. I'm excited for that. And for those who don't know, that is, they pretty much took the Shonen Jump, all of it, and said, hey, let's super render these Shonen Jump characters and make them fight. So it's got your classic Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, Death Note for some reason.
But they're not going to be in, like, playable characters. They're there for the story, apparently.
Oh.
That's just an article I read.
That actually makes me kind of sad. I was really excited to see how Light would fare against Goku.
Light Yagami's Dragon Punch was going to be. Is he just going to hold the Death Note? Does he just write names in the Death Note and they die? And if you can write them fast enough, maybe part of the fight is him figuring out what their name is.
You know, you say that. I think that'd be a really interesting mechanic of, like, it's quite literally, okay, you've got Goku and you've got, 90 seconds is like the amount of time for the person that actually needs to die. You've got 90 seconds to kill Light Yagami.
But if
that
you
should
kill
be
him,
super easy for Goku.
If you kill him, though,
you've
like,
got to take.
Sorry, go ahead, Scott.
Oh, I was gonna say, 90 seconds is a super short time for Goku, assuming that Goku already knows that he needs to kill him. But maybe for the first 60, they have a pretty good conversation. He's like, "Oh, what you writing in your book?"
Oh,
nothing. Don't worry about that.
No, nothing at all. What was it? Son Goku? Yes.
What kind of is that in hiragana or kanji?
Oh, cool. by the way, my name is Light Yagami. I'm just taking notes because I think your outfit looks super awesome. How strong are you? Oh man, I want to see you power up for at least another 45 seconds. I want to feel the power that you've got.
So how does that work? Does he writes a name in the journal or the diary, the death note. What if the death note gets punched to oblivion before the 90 seconds?
If you burn your page, you don't die.
If you fireball the page, like, because, fireballs are not actually fire, but they certainly seem to have the qualities of fire. If you fireball a page, if you Kamehameha the book as a whole, are you okay?
Yes.
All right.
So you've got 90 seconds to outwit Light or know what exactly is going on. Because I can see Frieza being like, oh, screw this Light Yagami guy. And he just writes Frieza real fast. And then Frieza just like shoots a hole through his book and his heart or something and he dies. But Frieza misses his name in the book and he dies. And then it's a double KO and Light wins.
Yeah, because he never
ultimately.
knows. Yeah, he would never know about it because he would kill the person too soon.
Exactly. Whereas Goku would die because he didn't think about things and, oh God, Light would kill everybody. Light would kill everybody.
Except probably if we're talking Naruto universe, Kakashi probably survives somehow.
Yeah.
Because do we even know if that's his real name? Probably not. No, the only one good character in Naruto.
Spider-Man looks nice.
You'll have to look at the docket because there is one game in particular that I noted that apparently is a Sony exclusive. I don't think it was part of the conference, but it looked real good. Did I delete it?
Desert Child?
Desert Child.
Dank as
you
fuck
only put Desert
soundtrack
Child
with
down.
rad pixel art centered around what looks like an adventure-esque game with hover bike combat.
Yeah, side-scrolling shoot 'em up action. It looks and sounds pretty fucking dope. I don't know. That caps off most of my feelings about Sony. Oh, and Death Stranding is apparently a UPS/FedEx post-apocalyptic simulator.
Which I'm more interested in it now than I was before.
It's like you can watch 3 minutes or however long that trailer was with the cutscenes and stuff and see all of these things and supposedly get so much information about what this game could or couldn't be and yet still be confused as fuck at the end of it. I don't know a goddamn thing about that game anymore. I thought I had an idea. I didn't realize
I know exactly what that game is.
I didn't realize Norman Reedus is a FedEx agent and just transporting boxes around and occasionally a corpse.
Dude, you've quite literally played less interesting games for longer. Spin Tires? That train simulator
I never
game?
played Spin Tires. I did watch
Let's
a
not
lot
talk
of
shit
train
on
simulator.
spin tires. I know one listener who may get really angry.
Train Simulator? You were watching hours of that. This is pretty much Train Simulator on foot.
I watched about 30
Yeah.
minutes of Train Simulator thinking to myself, what the fuck am I doing with my life afterwards?
I played
I know
Desert
Neil
Bus
is-
for 45 minutes.
Yeah. I know Neil is really excited to play this game because he thinks they're going to bring back the Snake Eater Metal Gear Solid 3 medical system where you rip out your own toenails once you've
I never even
walked
thought of
across
that.
Yeah, baby. It's got to be in there. And you're going to be able to spin Norman Reedus around until all this stuff like falls off his pack and he vomits. Oh man. Like you have no idea. This is going to be the
potential.
most well-made hiking simulator you've ever played. Like
Oh God! If
I am
only
very, very interested in seeing what the ultimate product of this game is.
If only
because
they took
truly
out-
it isn't a mystery.
If only they take out all of that alien shit and just have the hiking simulator.
if only it was on Wii U and you could go into the medical screen on your Wii U console and in real time pull
out
the
shrapnel.
toenail out from his toe on the screen and see him do it on your TV.
I
Man.
probably won't buy this game only because I'm so creeped out by that baby.
What's so creepy about that baby is the most metal I would invite that baby to all the parties.
Babies are creepy, man. That's all. It's unfortunately I
Goo,
thought that
motherfucker,
babies were creepy when they weren't winking at me. But now that I know that they can, I'm even more like disturbed.
He does know that real life babies also wink at people, right?
Let me try something real quick. Let me drain this baby's life energy from my flashlight.
Pretty
Like,
much.
There's going to be a lore explanation, and I can't wait to hear what it could possibly be.
So did you catch how in one of the last parts of the trailer, Norman Reedus is on like the radio or whatever with someone, and they say, if you're caught, you'll be fine, but they'll leave a crater or something like that, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. It's some sort of like regressive time crater zone. Who knows? Yeah.
Dude, this
You obviously get
fucking
to die
game.
in this game just fine.
well, they said
I was
about
more
like
disturbed by one of the actresses eating what looked like a giant tardigrade, and she's like, "Yep, just gonna have this little creature jelly bean here, and that'll do something in this world."
how. Okay, what other press conferences
too
were
gross.
worth note?
You have PC gaming show on here
I
on
put
this
it
docket.
on there, but I don't
Did
know.
it actually
cares?
happen?
Yeah, who cares?
The only
Devolver
other
Digital got fucking weird again too.
See,
Yeah.
now they even like said, "Hey, last year you guys said this was real weird and you didn't like it, so we're gonna up the ante." And Neil has got this like huge shit-eating grin on his face, but that's the side of the internet I kind of actively avoid. So I'm still not a big fan. I am a fan of, and like with them being that weird with their actual press conference, I couldn't tell if the games that they were showing were just a very special edition of fucking Skyrim. But now that I know that your friend Pedro actually is a real game, I'm kind of excited for it. But like, I get less of a sense of, hey, E3, as all the big developers have started going for, E3 is now more about the games than the actual conference itself. Devolver Digital is more about the conference and less about the games.
Well, it's still a parody of it. Like they're basically making fun of people getting so excited about E3 through the first half of their conference or their show. And like you're right, it's literally just a giant waste of time, but I love how they use stock footage of people in theaters doing things like eating popcorn and doing other shit like that. And they would actually intentionally reuse that same stock footage repeatedly at times. And it's things like that in the same way I can occasionally enjoy Tim and Eric, awesome show, great job, or whatever.
Why?
It's just because it's so cringy. Not cringy, that's not the right word. They emulate mediocrity in such a great way while poking fun at the establishment.
But it then becomes everyone's getting excited for E3 for the games, not the actual conference itself. But this one seems more of like this is more about the conference than the games.
They're just making. I think
I just want the games, Neil.
I think they're just aiming that at the conferences themselves because the conferences still try to be a conference as opposed to just an extended amount of trailers like Nintendo's is. I mean, Nintendo still had talking in between,
Because they
especially
had to do
with
something for their shareholders.
with what's his face for Smash. I can't think of the director's name. But
Reggie?
what's that?
Reggie?
No, not Reggie. Although I will always admit I love listening to Reggie talk. But
I don't know. He likes loot boxes now, so
just my body is ready. No, the director of Smash, I can't think of his name.
something Asian probably.
But like when he's talking about things, he's talking about the games and features. So it's like it's at least enlightening as opposed to hearing Todd Howard talk about the philosophy of game design before he actually talks about the game. It's like I've heard Todd Howard talk so much about nothing. Do I need to keep hearing Todd Howard hype up Fallout Shelter
Yes.
or Skyrim?
Because Todd Howard is trying to get those Microsoft shareholders.
By the way, if you want to
Yeah.
get the Todd Howard jacket, you can online.
Microsoft shareholders, man, they eat that shit up.
I just
Because that's
By the way, director for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Masahiro Sakurai.
something Asian.
Sakurai.
I wanted to
Thank
interject
you.
That.
I don't know.
Sakurai-san.
But yeah, so this is I think they still do that part of E3 just for what E3 started off as, literally a shareholder meeting for video game
It's a
companies.
shareholder meeting and also a place to have business conversations. And E3 and business conversations between businesses and companies, developers and publishers. But E3 is just, it's continuing to have this identity crisis because it wants to embrace what PAX is.
Yep.
Or
Yeah,
was.
It's both spectacle and conference at the same time.
Wait, PAX was? What's PAX now?
I mean, I just haven't really paid attention to PAX in a while, so I have no idea if it's still.
Because they don't have like a huge streaming thing.
Yeah.
They're quite literally, PAX is for the people that are at PAX,
That
whereas
go.
E3 is supposedly started off as a shareholder meeting. Then one year everyone was like, oh, a lot of people are streaming this to watch the video game trailers, so let's kind of marry the two. And now it's become very, I'm just in it for the trailers, and I just kind of skim / vaguely listen over the talking.
Well, and you think about what press conference means, and it's no longer really being directed to the games media or press as a whole, but more to the consumer. Mm-hmm. It's like the exact same thing we said last year, that E3 is having an identity crisis, and it's still trying to figure out what it needs to do and what it needs to be and what is actually useful to the community.
Whatever Sony did was not.
Yeah, wasn't good. And Square Enix had a showcase this year, and I don't know why they did, because it seems like they knew they had material and then ended up selling the exclusiveness.
They ended up selling the first dibs to everyone else.
Yep, and then they were like, "Oh shit, we can't show anything."
Well, here's more Kingdom Hearts 3. I guess no, they gave us the Captain Sparrow and Frozen Worlds of Kingdom Hearts 3. But either way,
The Don't Nod sequel within the Life is Strange universe.
oh yeah, that thing that I'm not gonna play.
I think the demo is there's a demo coming out if it's not already. I'm curious about it because I have heard a lot of good things about the prequel that they did before the storm.
Well, we can always do a let's play of that.
I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, and I guess before we super wrap up, I did want to say I'm excited about the fact that they announced Beat Saber on the PlayStation VR, only because PlayStation VR used to be, as soon as it came out, that VR thing that wasn't attached to the computer, so everyone was like, hey, this is a great game on PlayStation, on VR itself for the Rift and the Vive and mixed reality. And everyone who owns PlayStation VR has always been like, I wish this was on the PlayStation VR. This would be a really good game for the PlayStation VR. Now that we're getting a game like Beat Saber, which is still relatively new on the big consoles, that it's moving over, that tells us, hey, they're going to actually start hopefully putting games on the PlayStation VR in a timely manner to where, hey, this blew up on the PC. Here's the port for the PlayStation VR because it doesn't have to work with room scale because it works on Oculus.
Right. It's maybe weird that I suddenly can say I know 3 people in my office that have PlayStation VRs, and it happened within the last month. And I knew no one in my office that had PlayStation VRs prior to. So I kind of wonder if PlayStation VR is actually moving in a better direction than it had been.
Well, hopefully they fucking redesign those, the camera and the controllers. Mainly the controllers. But the camera's still old as balls.
Yeah. I wonder if they would do that before redesigning the headset.
Probably, because the headset's not bad. Actually, people are quite literally buying PlayStation VRs and taking the lenses out of the Vive and replacing with VR lenses.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you get a lot less of the screen door effect with the PlayStation VR's lenses, even though it has a worse resolution.
I think that also has to do with some of the, not
Physical stuff.
We're not talking about the technology behind the VR.
Either way, hi.
Yeah. I still kind of want to watch you play Summer Lesson.
Oh, there is a Summer Lesson S game for the Vive.
Do you get to train a young female student?
I don't know what you're doing with said young female student, but yes, there is a young female student that you are in a room with. I think she comes into the room saying, this is the first time I've ever had a boy in my room.
Oh, God.
And then immediately shuts the door. I think like the famous thing that they're doing right now is there's this fan demo where she bends over to turn on a fan, but she Asian squats to turn on the fan, but she's also wearing a really short skirt. So it's like,
man.
do you
Do you what? Do you what?
you just have to watch the watch the episode of the podcast.
Thanks.
No,
No,
I
thanks. I'll
started
have to
like
pass.
I started leaning underneath the table. Overcooked 2.
Oh,
We didn't even talk about that. Scott, Overcooked 2, it has a throw button.
That sounds awesome. I've still yet to play Overcooked, but I
Wait.
might actually pick this up because I missed out on how good Overcooked was.
God, yes, get it on the Switch because actually
Maybe,
Overcooked
yeah.
2 is going to have online play as well. So then, so quite literally, it's going to be me, Scott, Neil, and Lizzie.
Oh yeah, I'm down then.
Actually, it's not going to be Neil because unfortunately, Tiff's going to smack him upside the head and steal the Switch. So it'll be
Yeah,
That's fine.
Tiff,
I'll play-
Tiff would
I'll play
probably
with
play
Tiff.
with you guys. I would also. Well,
You would-
maybe
you would
no,
just-
but it's only 4 players.
yeah. You would just hook up a recording thing to Tiff's Switch and
Yeah.
oh, I can say the Nintendo Switch using Fortnite, these my just random Samsung headset that has a microphone on it, plugs it right into the Switch, voice chat.
Yeah, it's like they fucking were lying about Splatoon.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah. Scott, what closing comments or things, games did you want to talk about with E3?
We didn't talk about Fire Emblem.
Oh,
We did not.
fuck.
Yeah, we did not mention
How did we
the
go
game
through
that I'm
it?
actually most excited for. Fire Emblem. What's the name of it? Fire Emblem Three Houses. And not
That's a
only does
fucking
it look
three
like
house. Sorry.
Wait, it's really
sorry,
called Fire Emblem 3?
Romance of the Three Houses.
That's, I was like, is it really called Three Houses? Because at that
yeah,
point,
it's called
Yeah.
Three Houses for now.
so it is basically romance at that point.
Well,
I don't know.
I don't know
I
if
have
it's going to
no
be
idea.
that. Like they haven't given enough details about the story and narrative to know exactly
Here's-
what it'll be. But
Here's what I know that's important and has already pretty much sold me on picking this one up since I skipped the last Fire Emblem to release. It's the first console Fire Emblem since Radiant Dawn, which was a really good and I think underappreciated Fire Emblem game because all of the new units in that game were trash, but that was kind of part of what made it special. Is that when you finally got Ike later, you're like, baby, where have you been? I've missed you. It's been so long.
it was all a
Um,
strategy.
Yeah, it was all a strategy to make you appreciate your old team even more because, who cares? Anyway, that joke was getting off the rails. Three Houses has a couple things that look really interesting about it. One, it's gorgeous. That's always a Fire Emblem characteristic as well as like a good score and good character writing. But two, the way that the battlefield is actually able to be viewed in this game is awesome. You essentially have 3D character models for the whole thing. And it looks like there are two different perspectives you can use where you have the classic kind of grid-based setup, but you can also zoom into units and see the battlefield the way you would overlook, say, a battlefield in Rome Total War or something like that. A game I've never played, but I'm somewhat familiar with what it looks like. You have battalions now that are essentially conjoined to your units. So if I have a unit that has a name and a face, they're going to have a bunch of nameless, faceless characters that are essentially attached behind them, and it looks like I'm going to be able to impact or affect their formation, which will probably add another mix to the rock, paper, scissors that is Fire Emblem. And so with these features, there's also a couple things I noticed that just looked like they were like quality of life improvements, a better system for you to know like what enemy units you're within range of and things like that. I am very excited to play another Fire Emblem game on the console, and I think this should be a very exciting experience just with these kind of new additions. Additionally, it looks like there may be some roaming around in third person in sort of like an adventure exploration element. I don't really care for that, but if it's good, and I'm not going to complain. So Fire Emblem Three Houses, I am very excited to see release.
I don't think it was really like super announced, but Sony did announce a lot of things. Firewall Zero Hour is a PlayStation VR game that is pretty much Rainbow Six Siege, but in VR.
Interesting.
I'm excited about this now. I found out about it this morning.
The game part of E3, ignoring the AAA presence or lack thereof, actually was pretty good. I'm optimistic about a lot of those games. A lot of the Nindies, as we'll put it, and independent games coming out on PC and consoles. And, speaking of which, West of Loathing is out on Switch now as well.
I meant to mention that to you like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I've been thinking about picking it up for that, partly because it'd be nice to have it on Switch so I can play that while I'm rendering videos on my PC. And then also I think Tiffany would be more likely to play it on that as well. We share Steam accounts, but it's kind of messy because if I'm playing a Steam game, she can't play a Steam game, even if we're not playing the same games. Anyways, if you have comments, questions, or whatever, you can write into podcast@fancyramen.com.
Also, if you think our podcasts are getting too long again, don't hesitate to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts.
This is
Add
2 hours,
one star
right?
for extra. Yeah, we're hitting 215 soon.
It happens.
Yeah,
There's lots of cover.
Add 1 star for every minute you think we go over, and we'll be able to tell that way. And if you can't add it that many, like just max out at 5 stars if that's.
Or you can create multiple accounts and
possible.
keep.
Yeah, or just keep giving us more and more stars. Also, very importantly, tell your friends about us. We'd love for them to listen to the podcast, I'm sure, as much as you would. So spread the word. Thank you.
Have a good week, everyone. More
Bye.
Oxenfree coming up. Bye.